You were born with something the world never taught you to value. An inner flame, subtle yet powerful. A source of vitality that pulses beneath every breath you take. But somewhere along the way, that flame was dimmed. Not extinguished, never extinguished, but layered under decades of noise, routine, expectation. From early childhood, you were told to grow up, stop daydreaming, focus on what's real. Yet no one ever explained what real truly means. Is real only what we can weigh, measure, or photograph? If so, then why do we trust gravity, which we cannot see, or music, which we cannot touch? You've likely felt the presence of someone enter a room before a single word was spoken. You've held a loved one's hand and sensed something more than warmth. Something electric, something undeniable. That's not nostalgia or imagination. That's energy. And energy is the most scientifically validated force in our universe. Quantum physics, in its pursuit of the smallest building blocks of matter, tells us something extraordinary. Everything is energy. At its core, every solid object, every cell in your body, every thought in your mind is a vibrational field. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, once said, "All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind." He wasn't being poetic, he was being precise. Energy, vibration, and awareness are not esoteric concepts reserved for mystics. They are measurable, real, and central to how the universe works. Even the HeartMath Institute, through decades of research, has demonstrated that the human heart emits a measurable electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond the body. When you're calm and aligned, that field strengthens and synchronizes with others. You don't just feel peaceful, you broadcast peace. And yet, for most of us, this knowledge was never offered. Instead, you were encouraged to trust systems over sensation, performance over presence. You were shaped to be functional, not fulfilled. But the evidence of your magic, your energetic nature, has always been present. Think back to a moment when time seemed to slow. Perhaps you were watching your grandchild sleep, or sitting beside the ocean at sunset. In that stillness, something opened in you. Not just emotion, but a clarity, a quiet recognition of something greater than words. That was your energy field expanding, aligning, reconnecting to the wider web of life. In those moments, you weren't escaping reality. You were entering it more fully. This isn't just feel-good philosophy. It has real implications for your health, your relationships, your longevity. Research from UCLA shows that people who practice intentional presence, what some call mindfulness, have denser regions in the brain associated with memory and emotional regulation. Breathwork, a practice as old as civilization, is now used in hospitals to reduce anxiety and stabilize heart rate variability. Energy isn't fantasy, it's biology. And by learning to feel it, you can begin to direct it. The truth is, you haven't lost your magic. You've simply forgotten how to listen to it. But memory can be restored. Start simply. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly, deliberately. With each inhale, feel the air enter not just your lungs but your entire being. With each exhale, imagine shedding a layer of noise, expectation, or fear. This isn't just a metaphor. Your nervous system responds to this breath. Your vagus nerve, the master switch of your rest and digest system, activates and begins to restore balance. With each conscious breath, you're not escaping your age, you're reclaiming your vitality. You don't need to believe in anything mystical to begin. You only need to be willing to feel what has always been true. You are energy. And when you learn how to tune into that energy, to move with it, to honor it, life becomes less about managing decline and more about amplifying light. The journey is not backward to who you once were, but inward to who you've always been. You are not here to fade quietly. You are here to remember, to radiate, and to awaken. The time is not tomorrow. It's now. Take a breath. Feel your flame. It's still burning. If your inner light has ever felt dim, it's not because it burned out. It's because the world slowly placed layers over it. Layers of instruction, expectation, and noise. You were taught to trust experts over instinct, logic over feeling, authority over intuition. Not with malicious intent, but with a systemic design that valued conformity over consciousness. From your earliest years, you were rewarded for knowing the right answer, not asking the deeper question. You were told to memorize facts, recite formulas, and stay in line, but no one asked how your body responded when something felt true or false. That tingling in your arms, that sudden tightness in your chest, that inexplicable clarity during moments of silence. These were all messages from your internal compass. But you were never taught its language. Instead, you were taught to ignore it, to believe only in what you could measure, test, or quantify. Yet the irony is, modern science now confirms what ancient sages once whispered. The body is not simply a vessel. It's a field of intelligent energy. Research in neuroscience and psychophysiology has shown that your body responds to subtle environmental cues long before your mind processes them consciously. A famous study from the Max Planck Institute revealed that the human brain begins preparing for a decision seconds before we're aware of it. In other words, the body knows before the mind decides. Similarly, the Institute of Noetic Sciences has documented experiments in which participants reacted physiologically to emotionally charged images, before the images were even shown. These are not spiritual fantasies. They are peer-reviewed observations that point to a deeper, subtler intelligence running through your system. It's as if your body is constantly listening to a frequency the mind has forgotten how to hear. The ancients called this prana in India, chi in China, and ruach in Hebrew. Today we call it biofield energy, and it's real, measurable, and alive within you. Yet despite these findings, most of us were educated in environments that made no room for inner intelligence. School was about scores, not self-awareness. The medical system focused on symptoms, not energy. Even religion, though once rooted in mysticism and direct experience, became more about dogma than discovery. You may have been praised for being obedient, but rarely for being deeply present. You may have been encouraged to succeed, but seldom to feel. And so, over time, you adapted. You began to question your instincts. You ignored that subtle nudge that told you to call a friend. You dismissed that whisper in your chest telling you something was off. You labeled it coincidence or overreaction, when in truth, it was your system trying to speak. But here's the empowering truth. Just because you've been trained to forget doesn't mean you can't remember. Start by noticing what your body has been trying to tell you all along. That weight in your gut when something doesn't sit right. That lift in your chest when you walk into a room filled with love. These aren't emotions floating randomly. They are energetic reactions, measurable in changes to your heart rate, skin conductivity, and brain waves. The field of heart rate variability, HRV, research has proven that when we are in a coherent emotional state, such as gratitude or compassion, our physiology enters a state of balance. Blood pressure regulates, digestion improves, cortisol drops. Your body doesn't just feel better, it heals better. And all of this is activated not by medication or intervention, but by attention. Where your attention goes, energy flows. That's not poetry. That's biology. So if you're wondering how to return to the truth of who you are, begin here. Trust your subtle sensations. Create space for stillness in your day. A quiet walk in nature. A few minutes of slow breathing before bed. Placing your hand over your heart and asking, "What do I feel?" These are not indulgences. They are practices of reclamation. They are acts of remembering. And they are your birthright. You are not too old. You are not too late. In fact, with your years of experience, you are uniquely prepared to reconnect with the wisdom that lives within. The world may have trained you to ignore your energy, but the science, the spirit, and your own body are inviting you to feel again. All it takes is a breath. All it takes is a willingness to remember. If you've ever sat in stillness and felt a warmth in your chest that had no name, if you've ever looked out at a sunset and sensed something in you rising that wasn't quite thought and wasn't quite emotion, then you've already touched the truth that science is due. Beginning to validate. There is a center within you, a literal energetic space that holds power, clarity, and peace. This space has been spoken of by mystics and healers for thousands of years. In the yogic tradition, it's called the heart chakra or anahata. Not simply the symbol of love, but the bridge between the physical and the spiritual, the grounding of your body and the elevation of your awareness. Today, Western science is catching up. Research in neurocardiology, particularly by the HeartMath Institute, has shown that the heart is not just a pump. It has its own complex nervous system and sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. It creates a powerful electromagnetic field, up to 60 times stronger than the brain's, and this field changes with your emotional state. When you feel love, appreciation, or compassion, this field becomes coherent. And when it does, your immune system strengthens, your hormones balance, and your brain enters a state of synchronized clarity. This is not theory. It is observable, measurable, repeatable. It is the modern confirmation of ancient wisdom. The ancients knew that the path to higher perception did not begin in the mind. It began in the heart. The Egyptian texts called it the hidden flame. The Taoists spoke of the elixir field. The emerald tablets instructed seekers to find the light in the heart of flame. These weren't metaphors. They were maps, and every map pointed inward. You don't need exotic rituals or secret knowledge to access this center. What you need is sincerity. What you need is presence. You can begin right now. Place your hands over your chest. Breathe slowly. Feel your breath move beneath your palms. Visualize a soft, golden flame flickering there. You're not imagining it. You are initiating it. The body responds to focused attention. The vagus nerve, which runs from the brainstem through the heart and into the abdomen, regulates your parasympathetic nervous system. When you breathe slowly and bring awareness to your heart, you activate this nerve and shift your entire physiology into healing mode. Blood pressure drops. Muscles relax. The mind becomes clear. This is your gateway. Not a concept, but an experience. Not a belief, but a practice. And as you begin to work with this flame daily, even for just a few minutes, you'll notice changes. Not mystical at first, but subtle and steady. You may sleep better. You may feel less reactive. You may find yourself pausing before speaking, listening more deeply, sensing the energy behind someone's words. These are not coincidences. They are signs that your system is remembering how to regulate itself, how to live from coherence instead of chaos. In this state, intuition sharpens, not as a magical prediction, but as a quiet knowing, a deep sense of alignment that guides your decisions. The heart doesn't need to explain. It knows. And when you learn to trust it, life becomes less about control and more about connection. Less about solving problems and more about living in rhythm. You do not need to become someone new. You need only to become still enough to feel what has always been true. The real transformation begins not when you accumulate more, but when you return to your center. So begin now. One breath, one moment, one quiet return to the flame. The more you show up for it, the more it shows up for you. And what once felt lost will rise again. Not as memory, but as presence. Living with your energy awakened is not about escaping reality. It is about engaging with it more fully, more truthfully, more intentionally. Once you've touched the inner flame, the work becomes learning how to live from it. This is not a mystical abstraction. It is a practical shift in the way you move through your day. Scientific studies have shown that intention has measurable effects on physiology and even on external systems. Dr. William Tiller of Stanford University demonstrated that focused human intention can alter the electromagnetic properties of water and shift the pH levels of a controlled environment. What this means, practically, is that your focused awareness is not passive. It is participatory. Your presence influences your biology, your relationships, and even the quality of your environment. And when you combine this awareness with the consistent practice of breath, attention, and alignment, life stops being a series of reactions and starts becoming a co-creative experience. Imagine waking up and starting your day not by checking the news or your calendar, but by checking in with your energy. You sit for a few moments, hands over your heart, breathing slowly, asking yourself, where is my focus today? Where is my energy flowing? This small ritual sets a tone that ripples through every conversation and every choice that follows. When you begin from presence, you carry presence into the world. And people feel it. They may not know why, but they sense something different. Your words are more grounded. Your gaze more steady. your choices more deliberate. This is what the ancient Greeks called sophrosyne, a state of inner balance and wise moderation. In modern neuroscience, it aligns with a regulated nervous system and increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain associated with compassion, reason, and moral judgment. When you practice coherence, you activate the very centers of the brain responsible for your highest human capacities. The beauty of this work is that it doesn't require new beliefs or complicated systems. It only asks for your sincerity. If you find yourself overwhelmed, return to your breath. If your mind races, bring attention to your body. If you feel scattered, slow down your movements. These are not just calming techniques. They are energetic interventions. They interrupt the autopilot of reactivity and reestablish connection with your center. This has been shown to reduce inflammation, improve immune function, and increase telomerase activity, the enzyme that helps protect DNA and slow cellular aging. So yes, returning to the flame is not just spiritually enriching, it is biologically protective. You are not wasting time when you pause to breathe. You are extending your health span and nourishing your clarity. Living from your energy also means recognizing when it is being drained. That sense of fatigue after certain conversations, the tightness you feel in certain environments, the heaviness that comes when you betray your own needs, these are not just emotions. They are feedback. Your energy speaks before words ever do. Learn to listen. Learn to honor it. Say no when something contracts you. Say yes when something expands you. This discernment is not selfish. It is sacred, because every choice you make is either fueling your flame or dimming it. And when you begin to live this way, you stop chasing validation. You stop performing. You stop giving your power away to things that do not nourish your spirit. Instead, you become a tuning fork for truth. And others begin to notice, not because you're preaching, but because you're embodying. This is how we change the world. Not through force or argument, but through frequency. So begin today. Choose one moment to pause. One moment to breathe. One moment to feel what is real. That's all it takes to start living from the inside out. And once you do, you'll never again be content living in the noise. When one person remembers who they truly are, the world around them begins to shift. Not with noise or spectacle, but through a quiet coherence that can be felt, not explained. Living from your energy is not an isolated act. It creates ripples that touch every life you encounter. A recent study in social neuroscience from the University of California, Los Angeles, found that human brains literally begin to synchronize when two people are emotionally connected, a phenomenon known as neural resonance. This means your inner state is not just personal, it is relational. When your energy is clear and grounded, you don't just feel better, you help others regulate without even trying. This is the deep, often invisible power of alignment. You've likely experienced this without knowing it. The way a calm person can steady a tense room, or the way you feel lighter just by being near someone who is deeply present. That is not charisma. It is coherence. And it is available to you at any stage of life, no matter your history or circumstance. Science shows that our emotions are contagious through electromagnetic signals, subtle facial cues, and even scent molecules that the brain picks up unconsciously. A calm, regulated nervous system sends signals of safety to others, allowing them to drop their guard and feel more at ease. In a world increasingly addicted to speed, distraction, and reaction, one person who can breathe deeply, listen fully, and move slowly with intention becomes a revolutionary force. You don't need to lecture or convince anyone. Just be a living example of what is possible. When your grandchild sees you pause before reacting, when your neighbor feels seen in your presence, when a stranger softens just by the tone of your voice, these are acts of energetic leadership. You are modeling a different frequency of existence. This is not just spiritual. It is evolutionary. Epigenetics teaches us that our environment and emotional states can turn genes on and off. Your calm can literally affect your health and the health of those around you. Your presence is your power. So how do you become a source of light for others without losing yourself in the process? You return again and again to the simple, grounded practices that anchor you in your own being. Begin each morning not with urgency, but with stillness. Sit in silence, feel your breath, Place your hand on your heart. Ask, what energy do I want to bring into the world today? Throughout your day, notice when your body tightens or your breath shortens. Use that as a cue to pause, release tension, and reset. These micro moments of awareness, practiced consistently, become the architecture of transformation. They create a nervous system that others can trust. They make you magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because truth is always attractive. This is what the mystics meant when they said the divine speaks through stillness. Not in grand proclamations, but in the subtle language of presence. And yes, this path requires courage. It means saying no to roles you've outgrown and yes to the quieter truth within. It means walking through life not to be impressive, but to be authentic. But with every choice to stay aligned, something shifts in the collective field. When enough people remember their energy, systems that depend on fear and disconnection begin to unravel. Not because they are attacked, but because they are no longer fed. This is how lasting change happens. From the inside out, from individual coherence to collective awakening. From your breath to the breath of the world. So if you've ever wondered whether your presence matters, let me say this plainly. It does. More than you know. Your willingness to live in alignment is not only healing for you, it is a gift to everyone you meet. So keep tending the flame. Keep coming home to your center. Let your life be the quiet revolution the world has been waiting for.